Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday at 7 o'clock. This is the conservative corner, you can see. And I'm Seth Eisenberg right there. Right there. So if you're supposed to be in the conservative corner with me, you're in the right place. If you're not supposed to be here, you're in the wrong place. And I don't know what to tell you if you're in the wrong place because I don't know where you're supposed to be in the first place. So just hang out here then. Got a pretty important show today. So what we're going to do is we're going to get right into the breaking news and kind of cover that so we can get into the important part of the show and then go from there. First thing we're going to talk about is Camilla Harris and Stephen Colbert, whatever his name is. I don't care. So you got two losers commiserating over losing. It's everybody else's fault but theirs. Camilla Harris says everybody else didn't vote for her because she's a woman and she's black. Colbert is saying everyone kicked him off the air because of what he said about Trump. I don't know. I've watched Colbert a few times, and when he first started, he was funny. Like I've said before, like he used to make me laugh. I used to like watching him, but as he got more and more political, and that became his shtick, it got old really fast. I mean, there's only so many times you can talk about the same person, say the same things, and it stay funny. After a while, it's just like, dude, it's like watching this, like that 4-year-old at your house for Christmas goes, look what I can do, and does the same thing over and over all night. Yeah, it's cute the first time, maybe the second time, but the third time you just want to throw like a drumstick at him and tell him to go back to his room or something. Same thing with him. It was funny for a while, then it got old, and he's losing money. I mean, I think he makes like what, $17 million a year, some astronomical amount, and he's not funny. I mean, all the late night people are the same. They all say the same things, talk about the same people, do this. It's not funny anymore. And Camilla Harris is just a moron. And she's black when she needs to be, or she's Indian or Persian, I think, when she has to be. I mean, I don't know. It's like trying to figure out somebody's pronouns sometimes. I have no idea who they are. But there you go. They've been crying together on his late night show that's tanking. I don't know if you saw it when Biden was speaking at the that thing he was at. You know, the thing. Sounded like he was drunk. I think anybody who's making Biden still do these things, they're the problem, not him. The dude's just trying to live his life, and these people are still pushing him up in front of everybody, forcing him to do these public things, and he can't. He's got issues. It's obvious he has mental issues. He's not fully there. So they need to leave him alone. Let him enjoy his life and do what he wants to do. Stop forcing him to do these, dinners and things like that. The man doesn't know where he is half the time. So it's elder abuse as far as I'm concerned. Let the man was president. Let him enjoy the sunset of his life at home, sitting on the porch in Delaware. I think he lives in Delaware, doing what he wants to do. Stop forcing him to be in the limelight. He can't deal it. He can't do it. I mean, watch him. He can't. I feel bad for him at this point. It's like I said, they're abusing that dude. It's horrible. Trump also sent 2 nuclear subs. I think into the Pacific this week after him and I guess Medvedev had a pretty heated exchange. Number 2, people are panicking. Oh my God, he's sending U.S. nuclear subs into the Pacific. They're always there, people. Relax. This is nothing new. They have patrols they go on. They rotate. There's always subs somewhere. This is not like, oh my God, he's sent out specially just all of a sudden out of nowhere they're nuclear subs now. No, it's they're there all the time. They are, believe it or not. I mean, I know some people don't understand that. They're aircraft carriers and battle groups at sea all the time. It's not all of a sudden, it shouldn't be shocking to you. What's shocking is they're out putting it out in the public now that, hey, we're sending out sending some subs over to Russia and they're nuclear. Don't panic. Really, don't panic. It's not something out of the norm. They might like reroute patrol routes or things like that, but this is not something to be all panicky about. It's not. Relax. Take a deep breath. Everything's going to be fine. I promise you it's going to work out. This is not new. But there are people that are panicking. So take it from me. You're fine. Don't worry. We're good. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get to the big part of the podcast today. We're going to talk about some pretty serious issues. Human trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual violence. So if you have kids in the room, I'm going to leave it up to you because I'm not your father. You might not want them to have them here because this is pretty, adult stuff we're going to talk about. And I'm going to butcher her name, so I'm going to apologize right now. Sam Hudran. I think I got it right. Thumbs up if I got it right. No, I didn't get it right. Okay. She can correct me when she comes on. I apologize. But she's a counselor who works with people who've been victims of human trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual violence for quite some time. I am not going to do her bio. I'm going to let her do that because she's a pretty intelligent woman and doesn't need me. Was it mansplaining? Is that what it's called? I'm not going to mansplain. I'll let her do it. Let me bring her on so we can get this going. There she is, right there.
And it's Hudran.
Hudran. God, I told you I was going to mess it up again. Hudran.
Oh, good.
So, like I said, I'm not going to do a bio. That's up to you. I know we've kind of discussed this before. I want you to tell whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, the main thing is how long you've been doing this. What's your background as far as education to do this? I mean, I'm sure like some people are probably thinking, well, I could do it. I know how to talk to people. There's more to it than that. And so go ahead. Tell everybody who you are and how long you've been doing this and your educational background. She froze. Did you hear? Did you freeze? Can you hear me?
I think it did. My connection's terrible.
All right. Just tell everybody who you are, what your background is, educational, and how long you've been doing this.
You can hear.
Did you get that? I told you I was going to make funny if you froze. I'm going to make funny now. Oh, I think we lost her. Hold on, let me try to bring her back on. Is that better?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you too now.
Okay, like I was saying, just tell everybody your educational background, how long you've been doing this, and we'll go from there.
All right. I started in domestic violence as a case manager in 1996. So I've been in domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking for a very long time.
That's a lot, yeah.
Very long. I do come and go. It's not been a solid 30 years, but the majority of my 30 years have been in this type of work. I have a Bachelor of Science in psychology. I have my master's in counseling. I have a master's certificate in trauma and resilience. So I have the experience. I have all the pretty papers on the wall. And I kind of think I know what I'm doing at this point.
You know, a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Now, like I said, I know we've discussed this before, so it's up to you. If you want to, you could say. If not, we'll move right along. What got you into this?
Since I was trafficked. When I was younger, my mother actually trafficked me. She would sell me to whomever, would come along to either get money to buy drugs, or she would sell me to obtain the drugs. So that's why I got involved. I had to figure things out on my own. And once I did, I just made the promise that I would never let another victim have to figure out the path of survival and healing on their own. So here I am.
Well, like I said when we talked before, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's horrible. But like you said, it helped you get to where you're at to help other people. So always a silver lining, I guess, if you want to look at it that way.
Absolutely. They say everything happens for a reason, right?
What is it? God doesn't give you more than you can handle. So
True.
obviously,
True.
he
Here I
thinks you're,
am.
like I said, he thinks you're a badass. So
Yeah. Well, I'm a walking testament that you can survive horrible things, and you can heal, and you can become productive and use it to your advantage in the future. So there's always hope.
well, that's good. I mean, and I'm sure when you talk to people, that's probably part of what you talk about too. That hey, I can get through it. You can get through it, and I'll help you. Now, I'm sure everybody's experience is different. I'm sure it's not like cookie cutter. Everybody's
Oh,
experience.
everybody's different.
So,
Yeah.
and I know when we talked
Yeah.
before.
I mean,
Again,
I was just going to say, what may be traumatic for you, I may have the same incident happen and it not be so traumatic for me. So everybody perceives the trauma differently as well.
now is that? Do you think that has something to do with like their age or male, female, or is it just people, different ways?
It's a lot of factors. Age, gender, race sometimes comes into play. Your social experiences growing up. I mean, some people may have a harder childhood, so things aren't so bad.
Okay.
Somebody that's been sheltered perceives everything as, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
that makes sense. Okay, that makes complete sense. So I guess what we'll get into first is human trafficking because I think that's a not just like a local problem. That's like a worldwide problem. That's not just happening here or where you're at or down the street. That's everywhere, and it can happen
Everywhere.
to anybody. So why don't you give the because again, like I told you before, I'm going to be stupid about most of this stuff. I know probably enough to be dangerous. That's why you're here. So first off, let's start. What is the definition of human trafficking? What does that mean?
Human trafficking is just basically taking an individual and using them for your gain. I mean, it could be in the labor industry, it could be sexual trafficking, just putting that person out there to do something for you against their will.
Okay. So here's a dumb question. With that definition in mind, would that and again, I'm stupid, so bear with me. With that definition in mind, would that make like a pimp a human trafficker or no? Is that completely different things?
Say yes if they take their girls or their boys or whomever they're pimping out across state lines into a different location. So it's actually moving them to a different location, I think, that would qualify as human trafficking.
Okay, that makes sense. And when it comes to human trafficking, again, I've read a little bit. Are children the biggest victims of that, or not? Not so much. It can be anybody, like I said earlier.
It can be anybody, but children are usually between the ages of 12 and maybe 17, 18. Um, they're the most sought after. If that, I mean, that sounds horrible to
No.
say, but they're usually the targets. But
Now,
it can be anybody.
now when it comes to like targets, how do people? I mean, what do they look for when they're looking to get a kid? I mean, that sounds horrible too. But what are they looking for? What draws their attention to go? Hey, This is the one I'm gonna take. What is there?
Hackers are really good at what they do. They have it down to a science. They will maybe follow you with teens. They'll follow them on their Facebook account or their social media account. and they'll figure out what they like. They'll figure out what they don't like. Kids will usually post, oh, mom or dad made me angry,
Right.
so then the trafficker just shoots them that message and says, hey, I get it. My parents are horrible too. And they'll go into a whole story about how terrible their parents are to kind of draw them in and, see, look what we have in common. And once they gain that trust, then it escalates from there.
So is that I guess is that and I hate using this terminology, but it makes sense to me. Is that the most um, the most used hunting ground for these kind of people? Social media.
Social media, dating apps are another
Really?
popular one. Hmm.
Wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, and you said between 12 and 17, usually that's the spot that they're looking for. Is there a particular reason why?
Easier to manipulate a child than it is an adult. I mean, children don't really have much life experience. So an adult may recognize the red flags, a child,
True.
not so much.
Um, do you know of any steps? And I'm just going to use this because it's the most prevalent one. Facebook. Do you know of any steps Facebook is taking to combat human trafficking or stuff like that? Or are they kind of like, yeah, whatever, we're not doing anything?
I'm not aware of any steps that any social media platform's really taking.
Um, that doesn't
I
shock
mean,
me.
they all have that, parental control, but how many parents are really going in and looking at what their kids are doing on social media? Not very
That's
many.
I have a 15-year-old son, Ryan, and I don't let him. Me and his mom don't let him on social media for that very reason. Because number one, I can't be on his shoulder the whole time he's on there. Neither can his mom. So it's better. It's easier just not to have him on there. And personally, I think that's the best thing. Until you're 18, you don't need a Facebook anyway because you can't go do anything without your parents' permission. So why do you need to be on Facebook? You
Right.
have the people they talk to, you're going to see in school. So just see them in school. Um, what what speaking of parents and Facebook and social, not just Facebook but social media in general, what should parents look for if their child's online and they're talking with somebody? What red flag should a parent be aware of when it comes to this type of thing? Like what should they look for?
First thing I would look for is, does this child know the person they're talking to outside of social media? Or is this a person that's just found them on social media and started a conversation? Strangers starting a conversation with teenagers is usually a red flag to me.
But yeah,
I mean, how many teenagers really get on social media just to have conversations with strangers of the same age? So they're usually, fake profiles. Fake profiles are usually easy to spot. They've newly created. They don't have many posts, or they're just like meme sharers. Um, yeah, those are a couple things to look at. I mean, the list could go on and on. I mean, I
right,
could talk 3 hours on warning signs and red flags.
right. Um, is there any one country that stands out more than others for human trafficking? Like, is there like the capital of human trafficking is?
No, it exists. It exists worldwide. And I'm sorry, I'm in Delaware. So statistics statewide, I do know that Delaware is 10th per capita
Oh
in
wow!
the trafficking ratings of the U.S.,
Oh
just the
wow!
U.S. states. We're 10th, as small as we are.
I was going to say you're a pretty small state too.
Yeah. Of course, that's
Oh,
per capita, so we don't have a lot of people to
true.
back it up.
Now
However, that's still
that's a
shocking.
lot of people. Yeah. In your capacity as a counselor in human trafficking with the victims of this, do you have the occasion to have to work with police departments or federal agencies with anything like that, court systems, things like that?
We do. The agency I work for, we offer free services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking. And by way of services, we offer counseling. We offer police accompaniments, which is go with them and support them when they do an interview with the police. The police will call us and say, hey, we had a victim come in. They want you to give them a call. So we do work with police. We work with hospitals. We do hospital accompaniments. If a victim goes in for SANE exam, which is a sexual assault nurse examiner, also known as the rape kit, right?
Right.
They go in for a rape kit. The hospitals will call us and we'll come in and sit with them while they perform the rape kit and help them explain what steps are coming next and what they're going to use that evidence collection for. We do that for sexual and domestic violence. And then we do court accompaniments. We'll go to court with them and, support them when they file for a protection from abuse order or sexual violence protection order. So we see a little bit of everybody and do a little bit of everything.
And the sexual assault and the domestic violence we'll get into later because, again, that's something you also do too. I don't know if you know this, but I'll ask. If someone's taken into human trafficking, what percentage of them get found or come back? What is it, a high percentage or a low percentage?
Really sure of the percentage. And I came out here and logged in with you without bringing my cheat sheet with me.
That's fine. I mean, I can't imagine it's very high, or it wouldn't be such a big problem. It would be something to be handled. So I can't imagine it's like 80% of people who are trafficked come back. I can't imagine it's something very high. East Coast or West Coast, which one has the bigger problem when it comes to human trafficking? I mean, I have my guess, but or is
Honestly,
it
they're about the same.
the same? Okay. Here's a question I'm sure people are asking. With the border crossings and unaccompanied minors, is a lot of that, or could that be a lot of human trafficking too, or is that just the nature of what's going on, or is it just, hey, this is a good chance for me to get kids across, and then traffic them because I can just say they're my kids and do that? Has it
It could
gone?
be any, could really be any of those scenarios. They do come in. A lot of times you'll see kids, smaller children, as labor trafficking, because we don't just, we have sex workers that are trafficked, but we also have labor trafficking as part of human trafficking. So a lot of these kids will come in and they'll put the kids to work and not pay them, not, abide by the laws for child labor.
When it comes to people who traffic, not just children, but anybody in general, do the courts take that seriously? Are they really like dropping the hammer on these people? Or is it sort of kind of like, well,
Varies from case to case. I
really?
wish I could say they were dropping the hammer, but they don't always. No.
That's ridiculous. You'd think something like that, they would, this is it. We're going to crush this as soon as we can. Have you found that police departments, or at least the ones you work with, are becoming more knowledgeable about human trafficking? Or are they kind of just like, hey, we just take care of this and let us know what's going on?
No, they are. We actually, excuse me, we'll go out and do trainings for local police departments and local organizations that work with a targeted population. We'll do programs in schools. We'll do programs in the community with different community partners.
Now, when you do the school things, or you do like you just say, talk to people, have you ever done it and someone come up to you and say, hey, I need help, that's happening to me? Or
All the time.
oh, really?
And we work in twos because it never fails. When we're at an event, someone will disclose some kind of abuse, whether it's trafficking or, again, the domestic violence or sexual violence.
Wow. If someone comes up to you when you're doing one of these things, they go, look, I'm being trafficked. What do you do then? Like, what happens at that point? What are the steps?
We give them their reporting options. We let them know that resources are available for them. And we actually have lists of resources that we can physically give them in paper form But really, it's not. We can't go and report it unless they're a child.
Right.
If they're a child, then we're mandated reporters. But in most cases, we're not. So we give the paperwork to them, and then they get to decide how they want to pursue.
Have you ever had a
what
child?
actions they want to pursue.
Can he tell you that or no?
I have.
Wow.
I did at a high school event that I went to. So in that case, I just went to the resource officer and took the child with me. And I said, you need to explain to officer so-and-so that what you just told me. So then they explain it. And then the officer will take over from there. But I do still call and report it to Child Protective Services because that's part of my licensing.
Right. Wow.
But yeah, I let the police handle that in that case.
Wow. That's got to be, even for somebody who's been doing it as long as you do, it's still got to be kind of like, wow, like traumatic or just like, holy crap.
It's heartbreaking. It
Yeah.
breaks my heart when a kid comes up and says that to me.
Does that happen often?
With trafficking, no.
Okay.
It's usually some kind of domestic violence.
Which is not even any better at all.
It's not any better,
Right.
no.
Are you finding that schools are taking this seriously, or are they kind of like, we're going to kind of stay neutral, we're not going to get too involved for legal reasons, or are they attacking this head on as well?
He seems to be stepping up, and maybe the last 10 years it's become more prominent. So more people, you're seeing more actions from people in the community, like the schools. Doctors now have their trafficking questions. They ask everybody their questions. That's for trafficking at the hospital. Are you safe? Do you know the person you're with? If you've spent any time in the hospital recently, you've heard that.
Yeah,
I know you have. You've heard all those questions, and that's the purpose of them. That's a human trafficking screening that they're doing.
Now, here's a question. Let's say I'm in the hospital and I'm with somebody and I am being trafficked. How likely am I to say, I don't know this person? I don't want to be with them. I'm afraid of them. How likely is it for me to do that?
They're not. But that's what you have to look for. And that's what doctors and nurses are trained to look for. That friend that never leaves the bedside, or that friend that speaks for the patient.
Okay.
Red flags that they're being trafficked. If they're not allowed to present their own medical history or tell the doctors, what their symptoms are,
right,
that's probably a sign that something's going on.
That's, I don't know. It just infuriates me. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take our first break. We got to pay some bills. Nothing's free. And we're going to come back with Sam. How do you pronounce it again? Hudran. Sam, I'm going to get it before we're done. I promise you. Sam Hudran. As you can see at the bottom, she's a domestic violence and sexual violence counselor, also deals with human trafficking. If you have any questions for her, feel free to put it here on the text or the chat, and we'll get to them if we can. If we don't, we're not ignoring you. It's just we're involved in the conversation, and I'm intrigued. So if we don't ask the question you posed, please don't take it the wrong way. We'll try to get to them as soon as we can. So we will be right back, and we'll stay more with this topic with Sam.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
All right, we're back. I'm Seth Eisenberg. You can see it on the right now. There we go, right there. That's me. I'm the host, and we're on the Conservative Corner. We're talking with Sam Hudran.
Perfect.
Yes.
You did it.
Yes, that's my victory for the day. And we're talking about human trafficking. She's been working with people who are victims of domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking since the late 90s. She's got a bachelor's of science in psychology. She's got her master's in therapy, and then she has certificates. So like you said, she has all the pretty papers.
All the pretty papers.
So we've been talking about human trafficking. And like I said, a lot of this stuff I don't know about. I mean, I know what I've heard and what little bit I've read. But for the most part, this is educational for me. And I've already been asked text, like, why aren't you talking about politics? That's what you talk about. There are some things that are far more important than politics. And this is one of those things that's just more important than who the president is or who the congressman. That's not really important in the big scheme of things. These topics are very important because for all you know, somebody you know could be the victim of any one of these things and you don't know it. It's like, I mean, and we'll get into it later with the domestic violence and sexual violence, but those two types of crimes are very prevalent. They're not little things that happen once in a while. They happen a lot more than you think. So learning about them is helpful. And any knowledge is good knowledge. So in human trafficking, I did pick up some things here. Let me move this over here so we can see it. The top 10 states, like you were talking about, and this is from 2022, I believe. I couldn't find anything newer because that's just how the internet is for me. Like number one is Mississippi, which is astonishing to me. I never in a million years would have picked Mississippi. 7 is California, which would have kind of astonished me. I figured that'd be number one, but then again, I don't know much about it. Got Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, Nevada, Oregon, Nebraska, kind of round out those. And this is from 2 years ago. So like I was saying before, human trafficking isn't just like a little bit here and a little bit there. It's everywhere. And it's also just not confined to the U.S. It's international. When it comes to human trafficking, what is the most needed information people should have? Like what should they know, if nothing else, about human trafficking? What's the one most important thing they should know, in your opinion, that everybody should know about?
My biggest one is the online dating websites. We all date online. That's about the only way to do it these days.
True. Yeah.
So, I love to give people some tips on what to look for, how to protect yourself. You meet someone online and you want to go to dinner with them. Meet them at the restaurant and take an Uber or a Lyft. If they are a trafficker, they'll be able to find you by your car, by your license plate. So if you take an Uber or a Lyft and you meet them at the restaurant, they don't know where you live. They don't know what your car looks like. They don't know anything about you, really. So Uber or Lyft is your friend. Never go to the person's house if you don't know them and you haven't known them for 6 or 8 weeks with solid communication. Just public. Just please meet them in public. You have a good dinner, you have a nice chat over dinner, you're really feeling the chemistry. Don't go home with them.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, because that's what traffickers do. They're good at that. They're good at talking. They're good at making you feel close to them. That's how they get you and
Hooked.
pull you in. But
That,
that's just the advice that I like to give people the most.
well, that's pretty good advice. I mean, like you said, the only way to meet people now, like you said, is online.
Yeah.
Now, with it being online, I'm sure that makes it easier for them. And I'm sure when it wasn't online, when people actually went to these places called bars or nightclubs and they would actually meet face to face back, in Stone Age, was it still happening then or was it harder then for them to do it as opposed to now?
Honestly, I can't answer that question because trafficking I've gotten into in maybe the last 10 years.
Yeah,
Before that, I mainly focused on domestic violence.
right, right. Yeah, it's been that long since there's been bars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People going out and
Yeah.
meeting people. It's been 10 years.
Oh, I know.
God, I feel old.
I just want to throw out there too, if any of your listeners want to find more information on trafficking, the polarisproject.org is an awesome resource for human trafficking.
Polaris.org.
Polaris, Polaris, project.org.
Now, who is that? A government agency or is that a private organization?
It's a nonprofit that focuses on trafficking.
Okay.
They print statistics. They'll help industries and private individuals disrupt the human trafficking flow. So they're a lot more informative if you're interested.
That's informative and helpful. Like I said, I think there's probably more people that are affected by this than people realize. I don't think it's like, it's only like one person every million. No, it's a lot more than that. I think and like I said, it's not always sex. It could be labor, or it could be like the nanny that people have. Hey, either you stay here or we're going to ship your ass back to wherever country you came from.
Well, and that's a lot of people think that trafficking looks like, chained up and locked away. There are victims of trafficking that we could be interacting with every day.
Wow.
I mean, there are a lot of misconceptions, I guess, with human trafficking is what I'm trying to say. They allow them to go to school. They just control them psychologically. These men and women and children are afraid of what'll happen because they're told daily that, this is what life is. Yeah, but it's not always shooting them full of drugs and keeping them locked away in the basement. It can be the person you work next to every day that goes home and is trafficked in the evenings.
Jeez. That's what's scary about it, because you just don't know. And
You don't know.
and nobody wants to think, Karen I work with, she could be being trafficked, because that's just a horrible thing to think. And nobody wants to, I could be wrong. I don't want to say something and find out that I'm wrong, and then she's not going to talk to me, or it's just an insidious thing. And again, I want to ask a question. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm not going to take it personal. When you were the victim, what was the one thing that you were looking for? Like, was it another adult? Was it a friend? Who did you try to convey that there was an issue?
It started when I was 6 years old, so I didn't know there was an issue. I thought it was normal.
Oh,
So
wow.
I didn't recognize it for what it was really until I started working in my degree for psychology, and they brought up trafficking, and I went, oh, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember, this was back in the 90s. Trafficking wasn't as big of a
Issue.
platform as it is today. It was kept quieter.
That's again, I'm sorry that happened to you. I know I've said it before, but I'm still sorry that it happened to you. Um, do I? Is a parent doing that the exception, or does that happen more than I would think?
Happens more than you think.
Really? Is it when a parent does it? And I'm guessing. Tell me if I'm wrong. When a parent does it, is it more to support a habit, or is it to make money?
It could be either.
Either.
Yeah, I did pull up, since we're here and I have information on my laptop. I pulled up some statistics for you.
Okay.
And this is according to the Homeland Security. So 27.6 million people worldwide are victims of human trafficking. 73% of those, I'm sorry, 77% of those are forced labor. 23% are sex trafficked. Here's the one that was surprising. 57% of that number are men and boys. So more than half are men and boys.
Oh, wow.
So if you're standing next to a man or a young man, they could be a victim of trafficking too.
Really?
And of course, the other 43% are women and girls.
See, I'd have thought that it'd been the other way around. I'd have thought it'd been more women than it was men. That's shocking.
57% are men.
Wow. Holy crap. I never in a million years would have thought that at all.
Well, I wanted to throw it out there. That's why I looked it up. I didn't want to just say more than 50%. I wanted to have my facts right. So that's the Homeland Security. 57% are men and boys.
That's crazy. And I guess you can't say that 50% is probably a majority of labor, because you can. It's probably a mix.
It's a mix.
Have you ever got the chance to talk to a trafficker in your line of work, like just interview a trafficker, or no? Hasn't had the chance to do that.
No, I've only worked with victims, survivors.
Would you ever be interested in doing that? Like if you had a chance to sit down with a trafficker just to find out what makes them tick, what makes them think, and why they do what they do?
Absolutely. The psychology major in me just is dying for someone to talk to and find out their reasoning and rationale.
So what would be your biggest question to ask? What would you like? I've got to know, if I ask you 500 questions, this is the question I really want to know more than anything else. What would that question be?
Question B. Really? I would want to know why.
Why?
Why? What happened to you that made you think it was okay to sell another person? Especially children. I mean, and that's always been my point, because look what happened to me.
Right.
I was trafficked. I'm a survivor of traffic. I'm the survivor of horrible domestic violence at the hands of my mother. I didn't turn into somebody evil. I'm not a serial killer. I'm not a trafficker. I'm not abusive in any way to my children. Why? Yeah. Where did they go so wrong and I went so right?
Yeah, that's a good. I think that'd be the only question I'd ask, is like, why do you do this? Why do you think it's okay? Or and me being me, I wouldn't care what happened in their past. That's just me. Like, hey, you're doing evil shit now. I don't care why. I just want to know why you continue. You have to know that's wrong. If you have an IQ above a houseplant, you have to know it's wrong. So why do you continue to do it? That's a good question. Again, that's probably the only question I'd ask. I mean, you're a psychology major, so I'm sure there's other questions you'd like to ask too.
But why is the big one?
Oh yeah, that's a legit question. And just a little bit more about Sam. She was in the Navy, so I like her already because I was in the Navy. I think you were a bubblehead, right?
Yes.
She was a bubblehead. In case you're a civilian, that means she was on a submarine, a submariner. I was the smart one. I was on the surface. So if something happened, we could tread water for a little while. If something happened with her, it's sorry about your bad luck, pretty much.
Yeah. That's goodbye, right?
So she was in the military. Do you think being in the military gives you I don't know, like a leg up when you're doing this? I mean, the discipline and all that kind of stuff you learn, does that help you at all when you do this kind of work or no? Okay.
It helps me compartmentalize so I don't bring the cases home with me.
Yeah, how do you not do that? I mean, other than what you just said, how does it? I mean, it's got to affect you. It's got to hit you like a ton of bricks. Everyone, like when a kid comes up to you in school and says, I'm being trafficked. It's got to be like a gut punch.
You just compartmentalize everything.
Right.
I have a space for work. I have a space for home. And I do a lot of self-care. I mean, self-care is really important in this business. Making time for yourself, whether it's, going to get a massage or taking a walk in the woods, we have to do something to help us unwind from everything, especially after a particularly hard week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think when we talked before, I said it's probably something I couldn't do because I would be in prison. You know what? You did what to who? Yeah. Okay. We need to go talk in this room. I want to talk to you real quick. And then I'd be in jail for something.
And there are cases that come through. I'm a counselor, so I hear everyone's stories every day, all day. That's what I do. There are some cases that come through and you're just like, oh, let me find them out somewhere.
Well, if you didn't feel that way, you
but
wouldn't.
You don't,
Right, but that makes you human. That's a human reaction to someone hurting somebody else. Is let me hurt them worse than they're doing the other person, and maybe they'll stop. I mean, I think that's a normal reaction. At least I think so. I could be wrong. Who knows? Once again, we're talking with Sam. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll try to get to them. Again, if we don't, it's because it's an interesting conversation and we still got some more to cover. So if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them up there. So before we get into the next topic, which is equally as horrifying and depressing, wrap up human trafficking. What some red flags? What should parents do that have children? What should they do if they think someone's being trafficked? What steps should they take? Just kind of like a synopsis.
With the kids, talk to your kids. On an age appropriate level.
Right.
Let them know that there are people out there. Let them know the importance of not communicating with strangers on social media platforms. Let them know the importance of not being honest with parents. I mean, if your kids are afraid of you, fix that now, because that will lead to them searching for another adult to fill your role as a parent. And oftentimes that's a trafficker waiting right there to give them what they want, give them what they need, give them the attention. Most of the kids come from broken homes that are trafficked because they're looking for that missing piece. For adults, like I said, if you're meeting someone that you don't know, take an Uber, take a Lyft, meet them in public. That goes for folks selling things on Marketplace even. You got your Facebook Marketplace. When you set up that meet, don't let them come to your house. Put that stuff in an Uber, in a Lyft, and meet them at the gas station down the road. Just...
You would think that common sense, though. You'd think someone goes, hey, John Doe wants to buy my sneakers. I'll just have him come to the house. That just doesn't, even just saying it out loud, I'm like, why would you? It's just creepy. Why would you do that?
But people do. A lot of people do.
And you're the psychologist, so maybe you can answer this for me. Do people do that because everybody wants just to see the good in somebody and they don't want to think, hey, this person's bad. I can trust them. If I have them come, they really just want to buy this from me. There's no problem with them coming to my house because they're a good person. Is that how people want to view everybody, that they're good and don't want to accept the fact that, hey, he could be a serial killer?
They either look at it that way or they look at it as, I'm invincible. I'm just selling a pair of sneakers, so who cares? Nothing's going to happen to me.
And that's when it happens. When you think, hey, this is not going to happen to me, famous last words,
Right.
it happens to you. So yeah, I agree with it. And again, you say with social media, know who your kids are talking to, be that hovering parent that's over their shoulder when they're on Facebook, know what they're doing, and if it upsets your kid, they'll get over
Yeah.
it. They will or they won't. But in the long
I mean, I when my kids got frustrated with me checking on their phones or their social media or checking their texts and stuff, I just reminded them, not everybody out there is a good person. I'm just trying to protect you and keep you safe. So what happened to me doesn't happen to you.
see, you have that sledgehammer. You have that, hey, I'm speaking from experience. This happened to me. I'm not making this up. This is not an exaggeration. This can happen. It happened to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
But there are ways if you can't talk to your kids, Google can be your best friend anymore with AI. They'll tell you how to talk to your kids on an age appropriate level. I mean, with those chat programs, one of them will probably write the speech for you, so you don't even have to come up with your own words.
hey, whatever you got to do, I guess.
I mean, it's out there. I mean, the help is out there. You just have to take the time and look for it.
Well, I think people just also, like you said, you can't assume this will never happen to me. So I'm not worried about it. We don't talk about it with the kids because I know what's going on. And that's probably the worst frame of mind to go into anything with is I know everything and this is not going to happen. So I agree with you. They should, forewarned is forearmed. So yeah, I agree with that. All right, so we got to take a step away again, pay the bills, and then we're going to come back and like I said, we're going to something equally as depressing and horrible with Sam because she is the subject matter expert. Again, if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to post it. Excuse me. If for some reason or by chance, God forbid, that you are a victim of human trafficking or anything like that, you can private message and I can get it to Sam immediately. Whatever you got to do, just do it. But we'll be right back and we'll get into, like I said, some more equally as depressing stuff.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
So we're back. I think that's the last commercial break I'm going to take because, again, this is a pretty important show we're doing. It's got important information I think everybody should know about. We're here with Sam. We were talking about human trafficking. Again, that's just not a U.S. problem. That's an international problem. It doesn't happen just to, and I just learned it doesn't happen just to women. The majority of people it happen to are men and young boys. I did not know that. Again, information everybody needs to have. So now we're going to move into something, like I said before, is equally depressing and sad: sexual and domestic violence. I guess we'll do domestic violence, and then because that'll probably lead into sexual violence. And once again, just for people who may not know, what is the definition of domestic violence? What does that mean? If someone's like, I've never heard of that, what does that mean?
Domestic violence is abusive behavior in a relationship. And it's usually to gain power and control over your intimate partner.
That was going to be my question. Does it have to be an intimate partner? Could it be a child, another family member?
Any substantial relationship is the way I usually phrase it. It can be a parent-child. It can be a grandparent, grandchildren. It can be children against their parents or grandparents. All of those are considered domestic violence. It's not just husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, intimate partner.
Now, does it have to be physical for it to be domestic violence, or can it be emotional and mental?
There are several different types of domestic violence. It can be physical, which is hitting, grabbing, slapping. It can be sexual, which is self-explanatory, right? Coercing or attempting. Emotional abuse, when you're telling that person you're no good, you'll never find anybody better than me, that's domestic violence. Economic abuse, if you're given an allowance and you're the one earning the money, domestic violence.
Oh,
Look at your surprise on your face. Nobody thinks.
yeah.
There's technological abuse. Your intimate partner, do you restrict what they're allowed to look at? Do you restrict who they're allowed to interact with online? Anything that has to do with technology and restricting your partner is considered domestic violence.
Now, with all those examples you gave, do the courts view them all the same? Like if someone brought me to court, or I brought my spouse to court, and I said, well, she's emotionally abusing me, do the courts go, whatever, that's not our issue? Does it only matter to them when it's physical?
Usually they stick with the physical and the sexual because it's provable.
Okay.
Emotional abuse, what may seem like emotional abuse to you, again, may not seem like emotional abuse to me, because we all have different perspectives on situations.
Okay. Now, again, you're the professional. You've got a degree in psychology. I've always been under the assumption that when it comes to abuse, mental is the worst, as opposed to physical, because physical, you can see the scars, you can heal them. With mental, nobody knows except the victim, and there's no way really to help him. Is that true?
That's true. Not that there's no way to help them.
Right.
I mean, as a counselor, that's what I do. I help them get through that. But yeah, physical violence heals. The bruises fade, the cuts, heal. But
Right.
that emotion, they used to say that for every one negative, it takes 5 positives to erase it.
I can see that. What if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, look, I'm the victim of a domestic abuse," and you're counseling them? What's the first thing you try to do? Like when you first meet them the first couple of times and you're talking with them, what's the first issue you tackle or you address? How does that go?
First thing I like to tackle is self-blame. A lot of times they'll come in, well, if I hadn't been drinking, it wouldn't have happened. Well, no, you're allowed to drink. You're an adult. So
Right.
I focus on assigning the blame where it belongs. It's never the victim's shame. It's never the victim's blame.
Okay. That would seem to me to be the hardest thing to probably tackle. That probably
It
takes
is.
long. I mean, I'm sure once you get past that, things kind of fall in line. But getting to that point must be arduous.
That's the hardest thing to do. That's why I do it first, because they're not truly going to heal without recognizing that they're not at fault and they shouldn't be ashamed of what happened to them.
So, do they make it? And again, I'm asking questions because I don't know. People who are abused, do you find that they make excuses, like you just said, I was drinking, it's my fault, or maybe I shouldn't have said that, and then
Yeah.
I deserved it. Where does that come from?
I don't really know. I haven't really figured it out.
Because I've always wondered.
Everybody does it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I've never understood why people. Oh, he punched me in the face, but I did it. Well, why do you think you deserved it?
If I had to venture a guess, I would say it ties in maybe to media, because the media, you see it. You've got Law and Order SVU, where they every episode's about sexual violence, so
Right.
it kind of it's not as taboo, but you're watching it every week. You're seeing it happen. there's always some form of victim blaming in each of these episodes, and everybody watches television. I mean, we all watch it. We see it in movies, we see it in everything. What do they say? The perpetrator will sit right there and say, well, she was pushing my buttons, so I hit her. So that just sticks. Like I said, the emotional stuff, the things we hear affect us more than anything.
Now, let's just take it the last 25 years, from 2020 to 25. Has domestic violence increased, stayed the same, or gotten better?
I think it stayed the same, but we're hearing more about it. We're recognizing it more. So it seems like there's been an increase. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I can only imagine with that COVID period where people were locked in their houses, I can only imagine it might have spiked during them because now you can't go anywhere. You were stuck in the house with that person.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that people would make up an excuse, maybe, and again, I'm a layman, maybe they're embarrassed. Like, hey, I don't want people thinking I just got beat up because I couldn't defend myself. Maybe if I make up a reason, they'll like, oh, okay, it makes sense to me. Not that there's ever a reason to put your hands on somebody in a violent manner just to do it. And again, I asked you before, and it kind of shocked me. You have dealt with men who've been the victim of domestic abuse before too, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Is that as frequent as women, or more frequent than people would assume, or?
It's more frequent than people would assume.
Again with the human trafficking, I never would have thought more than half were men. I would never have assumed that men are, and I don't mean to sound like we're tough guys, but I just would never have assumed that men are the victims of domestic abuse. Do they come forward as often, or is it usually like they have to, like something's happened and now the police are involved, or do they freely go, hey, look, I got to talk to somebody. My wife or significant other is beating me.
They usually don't come to us unless the police are involved. Men try and be tough. Y'all try and put up that persona that nothing bothers you, but it can. I mean, there are some women out there that will ball up that fist and knock you into next week with no thought about it.
True.
It happens.
True. Now, this might not be the same vein, but let me ask, does child abuse fall under domestic abuse, or is it two separate entities?
Two separate.
Okay. That's just what I thought, but I figured I'd ask. So domestic abuse is usually, like you said, between a personal relationship with somebody, not always wife, husband, but a personal relationship. Okay. And I'm sure law enforcement takes domestic abuse very seriously. I don't think they kind of like,
They do. And again, in the last 10 years, we've seen them step up and recognize it and actually do something about it.
Well, that's a good thing.
I remember when I first started, it was like, okay, one of you are going to go, so pick. Now they'll actually investigate it, and then they will make arrests, and they do pursue charges against domestic violence perpetrators.
Now, are the courts dropping hammers on these people, or are they kind of like, well, bad mistake, you did it once, let's get you some counseling and give you another shot at it?
That depends on the judge.
Really?
Yeah, I think here in Delaware they have sentencing guidelines. I know they do. I don't think they do. They have sentencing guidelines. So, they have a range to pick from during sentencing. But in most cases, they do get time. In Delaware, we have what's called a PFA, a protection from abuse order. It's a civil order. So if you're in a domestic violence situation, you can actually go to the court and file civilly if there are no criminal charges.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think jail time helps, hurts, or does nothing to the abuser?
I don't think it does anything.
What
I
would
mean,
you?
abuser is an abuser until they go through counseling and actually apply themselves and do the work in counseling. I don't think they're going to change. I'm one of those in the leopards don't change their spots camp.
Well, I agree with you on that 100%. And has it been your opinion that abusers were abused prior? I mean, do people that abuse all of a sudden just wake up one day and go, I think I'm going to start beating my significant other, or is there something in their past that just continues?
Well, that's the excuse they use.
Okay.
And it is just an excuse.
Right.
Again, look what happened to me.
No, yeah, that's why I was
my mother would chase me around the house with a loaded gun and shoot bullets through the ceiling to the point that our roof leaked every time it rained. I've never abused anybody. I've never put my hands on anybody.
right.
So
No, I agree with you. I think
you
people
know,
are responsible for their own actions. You can say, hey, with my past, like my mother or father did X, Y, and Z to me, but that doesn't mean you have to. I mean, you knew it was wrong then. Why would you keep doing it now, knowing that that was wrong? So yeah, I agree with you. That's just an excuse they use.
it's an excuse that they use.
So I know the first thing you do is try to get past it's my fault that this happened. Is it a different approach with men when you have a man who's an abuse victim? Is there a different way you approach it? Or is it the same thing? Like, hey, it's not your fault.
It's the same thing. And we go with men, I'll go over a lot of the, societal norms are not really the norm. You reported, but out of every 5 men, probably 3 of them are in abusive relationships and only 1 of them will report.
Really? Is that many?
It's that many.
Wow. I would have had no idea. And I can see men not reporting it because of shame. I guess they're embarrassed. Like, hey, I don't want people thinking, I'm getting beat on. I'll just suck it up and take it.
Right.
I'm never going to claim to be normal. We all have our little, quirks, idiosyncrasies, things like that. But I have never in my life ever had it cross my mind, hey, I'm going to beat my partner or I'm going to beat my kid or whatever. I don't, and I'll probably never understand how that mind works. I don't condone it. I think the only time you should put your hands on your child or your partners is if you're helping or in a loving way. I don't think you should ever punch or strike or hurt on purpose.
I agree.
What have you learned about the people who abuse? What is their driving factor? Is it control? Is it just
power and control?
Power control.
They want to be in power. They want to have control of that other person. I did just pull up some statistics for you with the prevalence of domestic violence.
Okay.
We have 1 in 4 women experience physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner since the age of 15. 1 in 14 men experience physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner since the age of 15. And then emotional is 23% of women and 14% of men. And economic is 16% women, 7.8% men.
Okay. Kind of what I was thinking before you said it, so nothing really catches me off guard there. I can't fathom that. It doesn't compute with me. None of that makes any sense to me. But that's just me. And you and probably 99.9% of the people that are going to watch this later are in the same boat. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense.
So do you get more domestic violence people coming to you or more sexual violence people coming to you when you have to counsel? What would you say the makeup is?
My entire caseload is sexual violence.
Wow. Well, let's get into that. I think I found some stats on that too. Let's bring that up. See, I have, basically what you just said, 1 in 4 women. I have 1 in 5 women, and then 1 in 13 men have experienced sexual violence by an intimate partner. So pretty much in line with what you were just saying on the stats that you had. How many, and I'm trying to phrase this as delicately as I can. When it comes to men, how many of those men were sexually abused or a victim of sexual assault by other men as opposed by women? I mean, like in a homosexual relationship, how many is it more of that than it is man and woman?
It's usually man on man.
Now, does that include? And it sounds stupid. Does that include prison? Men in prison? Does that stat encompass men in prison being raped or anything like that, or no?
Does we actually do accompaniments with prisoners that have been sexually violated in prison?
Now, I've read a little bit about that, and I understand. And correct me if I'm wrong. When it's in prison, that's more about control. That's dominance. I'm in charge. You're not. You're going to do what I say, and if not, this is going to happen to you. Now, is it the same when it's like in the real world? Is it the same type of control, or is it more just I'm bigger than you and I'm going to do that?
It's all control.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. In the real world, we see a lot of date rape drugs. Meeting they'll meet another man online. They'll go out, meet him for drinks. They get drugged. They're sexually assaulted.
And maybe I should have started off with this, like we've done with every other segment here. For anybody who may not know, what is sexual violence? What does that encompass? What does that mean?
Exactly what everybody would think it was. Okay. Forcibly, a sex act forcibly done with an unwilling partner.
Okay. Pretty self-explanatory, but just in case someone lives in the woods and this is the first time they've seen a podcast, I just want to make sure they know. And I'm assuming between domestic violence and sexual violence, those are probably neck and neck for the amount of times it happens. It's probably not one more than the other. It's probably just as many on both sides.
Roughly, yeah.
See, all this, it's just completely shocking to me. I don't mean to sound like an idiot. It's just crazy stuff. Here's some more stats that I found, pretty much in line with what you said. 1 in 5 women in the U.S. have been the victim of or attempted to be raped in her life. Nearly a quarter of men in the U.S. experience the same form of sexual violence in their life. I didn't know that. That's more than half of female victims are raped by an intimate partner, and 40% of those are by an acquaintance. For male victims, more than half of male victims report being raped by an acquaintance, and 15% by a stranger. Wow.
It's usually the folks we know. And down there at the bottom where it says SARC, S-A-R-C, that stands for Sexual Assault Response Center, just if anyone needs to know.
Yep.
That acronym.
There's a number there. I mean, and I guess people would be shocked at the amount of people that they may even know that are victims of sexual assault or just domestic assault. I guess that would be shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine, like you said, with the excuse me, the human trafficking, where it could be someone you work with that's being trafficked. The very same thing with this. You could be someone you work with that's the victim of sexual violence or domestic abuse, and they always seem happy. They're always smiling and laughing.
Yeah, like the statistics say, 1 in 5 women. So
that's a horrible stat. That's wow.
Yeah.
And it says down here, about 1 in 4, 22% of men experience cyber sexual harassment. Is that a new thing? Is that because of internet and social media? Is that a thing now?
It is. That's why I mentioned during domestic violence that you could be abused technologically.
Right.
And that's the same thing.
Now, do courts take that as seriously since it's kind of a new thing, or how do they address like cyber stuff? How does that addressed?
We usually don't hear a lot about the cyber stuff. We do hear about it when we go into the high schools and do presentations there. We'll hear, well, so-and-so posted such and such about me online.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Take it up with your school counselor because that's kind of like bullying and it goes against policy.
Right. Right. I can see that. I think I got something else here. Let's see what this is. So this is domestic violence stats. 85% of domestic violence victims are women. Every day, nearly 3 women are killed by an intimate partner. A woman experiences physical abuse every 9 seconds. That's pretty sobering. Annually, domestic violence causes over 1,500 deaths and 2 million injuries in the U.S. alone. Now, I know some people may say, oh, 1,500, there are what, 300 million people in this country. 1,500 is like a statistical drop in the bucket. Not if it happens to you. Not if it's somebody you know or a friend or a neighbor. It's not just, a number. That's 1,500 too many, especially because these are preventable. I mean,
they are preventable. And 1,500, I mean, you're thinking that's 1,500 people that were killed by an intimate partner. I mean, that's someone that's supposed to love them. That's someone that's supposed to care for them. That's someone that's supposed to protect them. 1,500 people is high in my book when you look at it that way.
No, yeah, I agree. I think 5 people's high.
Yeah.
It says around 24 people per minute are victims of physical violence, rape, or stalking by an intimate partner in the U.S. Now, is stalking sexual or domestic when it comes to violence, or is that something separate?
No, I would categorize it under domestic violence. I mean, because it's usually a known person.
True. Are people taking stalking more seriously now, you think, or do you think it still has some way to go?
They do. I mean, when I first started in the, I don't know, I want to say business. When I first started in the business, stalking wasn't a thing.
Really?
I mean, they were just starting to come out with stalking laws.
Okay.
So nobody really knew what to do with it. Yeah, so it's...
Yeah, I think stalking is a precursor to worse, in my opinion. I think it starts with that, and then it turns to a fixation, then it turns to fantasy, then it turns to, hey, I got to do something. I have to act on this, or it's just not exciting anymore. That's my opinion. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination.
And I kind of, and this may just be my opinion, but I kind of throw in the whole intimate partner that wants to track, you have to share your location with them. I mean, to me, that's stalking.
Okay.
Why do you have to share your location with your partner? They call it where you at all the time.
Okay,
I've had women come to me and say, oh, it's so cute. He wants to know where I am all the time. No, girls, that's not cute. Not cute.
That's control.
That's control. And control leads up to domestic violence.
Yeah, I was going to say control never leads to something good. It doesn't lead to a happy honeymoon or a great marriage. It leads horrible endings.
Trouble.
My father was a police officer for 20 years in PG County, right outside of D.C., and he used to tell me that domestic abuse calls, he said it's like there's a script because we show up, everything's fine, the victim wants to defend the abuser, we're the bad guys, and then I always tell the victim, hey, this only ends one of two ways. Either you leave or we're going to come back and put you in a body bag at one point. You need to make a decision. He said, and the more you tried to get that person out, the more they fought you.
Yeah.
They would defend the victim and attack you as an officer trying to get them out of the house. He said, so it got to the point where you just show up and go, are you pressing charges? No. Okay. Nothing I can do for you. Next time I see you, I hope you're still breathing, and then leave. He said more often than not, if they didn't leave, it ended up with them coming back and the person being dead.
That's the thing with it always escalates.
Right. It never gets better.
It'll never get better. And chances are very good that it's going to get worse. And it does.
It says here 1 in 3 women and 1 in 10 men experience some form of physical violence by a partner in their lifetime. Those are shitty stats. I mean,
they are.
Well, I, I can't get my head around it. I don't understand it. I don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been angry. I've raised my voice. I've yelled and screamed, but I've never struck a friend or a partner or anybody like that because I can or because I'm angry. I mean, when I was a child, I probably did because I was a stupid kid and I was 6 and didn't know any better. But as an adult, like you said, there's no excuse. If you're that angry, walk away.
Yeah.
So what are some of the signs people can look for when it comes to domestic violence or sexual violence and like a friend or a neighbor or just a coworker? What flags should they take notice of?
Oh, there's gosh, I don't know.
What are
Red
the three
flags
big
for
flags?
sexual violence would be they'll withdraw. Like if they're very social and you notice that they're not going out anymore or they're not as talkative anymore, that's a red flag that something's wrong, whether it's sexual violence or domestic violence. The victim will usually withdraw.
Okay. If you suspect somebody's the victim of either, what should you do? Like if I thought my neighbor was the victim of domestic abuse or sexual abuse, what steps should I take that wouldn't, I don't want to say cause problems, but would prevent it from happening or help that person even if they haven't asked?
Just never say anything in front of the person that you think could be the abuser.
Okay.
That's number one. You don't want them to think that you're on to them, because that'll just cause them to cut off the relationship you have with the victim, and try and control that. There are numbers available. If you, again, Google domestic violence, there are domestic violence helplines. The same with sexual violence. There are sexual violence helplines. So you can give your friend one of the numbers. That's a good point. We haven't discussed self-esteem issues that are caused by abuse. Donald brought up here. It does affect your self-esteem, which is part of the hiding, part of the getting away from the public.
Right. Well, see, now you got to come back so we can talk about that.
Right?
There's like so much. It's like layer after layer after layer after. There's just not one thing you can talk about that covers everything. It's always something more to discuss when you start talking about this.
Right. But while we're talking about it, I just want to mention RAIN. They're the National Sexual Assault Hotline. It's free, confidential, and they'll answer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their number is 800-656-HOPE, HOPE.
Okay. Again, if you're watching this or now or after we post it and you're the victim of or know somebody that's a victim of, and get a hold of me and I can get a hold of Sam and get you two in touch. And if she can't help you because she's in another state, she can definitely point you in the direction where you got to go and who you have to talk to. So reach out if you have to, or don't be afraid. I mean, like she just said, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. It should not be being done to you. So, reach out. And again, if you reach out to me, it'll be strictly confidential with Sam. I'm not going to go, oh, by the way, Jean called me and told me that her husband, I'm not going to do that. That's not what this is about. I will help you as best I can to get you in touch with, at the very least, Sam and the expert, and she can help you from there more than I could help you.
Absolutely. We have resources in other states as well. I mean, like I've said, we're located in Delaware, but we have resources for about anything. And if we don't have them, we can find them.
Well, that's good.
You don't need to stay.
Yeah, don't think that you're trapped and you're on your way out. out. You have a way out. And of course, Sam understands, and I understand now that first step is probably the hardest thing you can do, but it gets easier after that. That first step is a tough one, but after that, you won't be alone. So keep that in mind if you're out there watching this now or later and you're a victim. There's help.
And to if you leave your domestic violence situation and for some reason you go back to your abuser, don't beat yourself up more for that. Everybody relapses, right? If you have an addiction, everybody relapses. Domestic violence is the same. You can relapse and still start over again. So don't give up on yourself, because we're not going to give up on you if you go back to your spouse or intimate partner, I should say.
There you go. So
we don't judge. No judgment.
How many people commit suicide after their self-esteem is destroyed? Yeah, what is the suicide rate for abuse victims?
I don't have any statistics on that.
I'm sure it's high.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't feel like you're trapped. I mean,
no, you're not trapped. You're never trapped.
There's always help. I mean, if you don't want to talk to me, talk to Sam, talk to a neighbor, talk to a family member, talk to somebody and get out.
Right. And all these 800 numbers that I've thrown out here, they're all anonymous. You don't have to give your information. If you want to call them and just ask for resources, you can do that. Call them, ask them for a list of domestic violence shelters. If you need a place to get away, a place to run, we can do that. We do that. We have safe houses. We have places that no one knows exists.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, I appreciate your time. Like I said, this is a far more important topic than politics or anything like that. And you are welcome to come back anytime. And
thank you.
Donald asked, we could get into other aspects of being a victim, what happens beyond what we just discussed. Like he said, the self-esteem issues, suicide issues, does being abused lead to addictions? I mean, there's so many other things that we can get into. And you are, like I said, the subject matter expert. And rather than hear me ramble on about it, we can talk to you and get some real stuff rather than what I think or what I've read somewhere. But I think
I have access to statistics, so we can certainly do that.
That's awesome. And like I said, anytime you want to come back, you can get a hold of me and we talk. So you can just, hey, I want to come back on. This came up, or I want to talk about that. That is fine. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime. Like I said, anytime. But I want to let you go so you don't have to spend more of your time with me. Relax, enjoy yourself. And I'll get in touch with you.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you again. And you have a good rest of the weekend.
Thanks. You too.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. That was Sam. Well, let me get this here. Counselor extraordinaire, knows her stuff, was talking about some things. Again, I'm glad she came on because, like I said, some things are far more important than politics. A lot of things, almost everything in the world is more important than politics. So don't think that. And like I said, you're not trapped if you're a victim of this. So we've gotten to that point of the show where, I give my opinion on something. Sometimes it's related to the show. Sometimes it's not. This particular opinion isn't related to the topic of the show, not because I didn't want it to, because the topic was very heavy. And I think we need some time to digest that. So I wrote my opinion on something else. And I'll read it to you. And then again, it's my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. You can tell me to kick rocks. You can go, hey, great, I agree with it 120%. It's up to you. Today's topic is property taxes. Property taxes are a relic of a bygone era, a blunt instrument that distorts economic incentives, punishes productivity, and undermines the very notion of ownership. Abolishing them would unleash individual freedom, spur economic growth, and align taxation with fairness and efficiency. Here's why. First, property taxes violate the principle of ownership. When you buy a home or land, you're told it's yours. Yet, the government demands annual tribute just for holding it. Fail to pay, and your property can be seized. This isn't ownership, it's a perpetual lease from the state. True ownership means control without ongoing extortion. Abolishing property taxes would affirm that what you buy is yours. End of story. Second, property taxes disincentivize improvement. If you renovate your home, add a room, or build a business on your land, your tax bill spikes. This punishes initiative and stifles development. In 2023, a study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that property tax increases led to a measurable decline in home improvements and local investment, particularly in high tax jurisdictions. Why upgrade your property if the government skims the added value? Without property tax, people would invest more in their homes and communities, driving economic activity. Third, property taxes are aggressive and arbitrary. They hit hardest those on fixed incomes, like retirees, who may own valuable homes but lack the cash flow to cover rising assessments. A 2021 report from the Tax Foundation noted that property taxes disproportionately burden low-income homeowners as they consume a large share of their income compared to wealthier households. Moreover, assessments are often inconsistent, subject to bureaucratic whim or outdated valuations, leading to unfair disparities. A system that penalizes people for staying in their homes or living in appreciated neighborhoods is neither just nor rational. Fourth, property taxes fuel government bloat. Local governments rely on them as a steady revenue stream, often hiking rates or reassessing properties to build bloated budgets. In 2022, U.S. local governments collected over $600 billion with the B, in property taxes, much of it feeding inefficient programs or administrative overhead. Without this crutch, municipalities would be forced to streamline, prioritize, and seek revenue from less discretionary or distortionary sources like consumption-based taxes. Alternative exists. Sales taxes, for instance, are voluntary. You pay when you choose to consume. Income tax, while flawed, at least tied to the ability to pay. Land value taxes, which target unimprovement land rather than buildings, could incentivize development without punishing improvements. Excuse me. Though they're not perfect. A 2019 analysis by Mercatus Center suggested that shifting to consumption-based taxes could boost GDP by reducing distortions in housing markets. The point is, there are better ways to fund government without holding property owners hostage. Critics will argue that property taxes are necessary for local services like schools and roads. But necessity doesn't justify inefficiency or injustice. Schools can be funded through state or federal budgets or even voucher systems that empower parents. Infrastructure can be maintained through user fees or targeted levies. The idea that property taxes are the only way to fund communities ignores centuries of physical innovation. Abolishing property taxes would free homeowners from perpetual government rent, reward investment, and force governments to tax smarter. It's not a utopian fix, but it's a step towards a system that respects individuals and encourages prosperity. The government shouldn't own a piece of your home just because you do. And again, that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but it is what it is. Well, if you like the show, please like and subscribe on YouTube or Rumble or X, wherever you're watching it. Please do that. If you're interested in watching the other podcasts, we have Alexander Levine, Damon the Hammer Galdo. They're on every Wednesday. We do the Pulse where we all get together with some special guests and we talk about topics of the week. Tune in for that. And before I go tonight, my son Ryan had sent me some pretty deep philosophical thought, and I wanted to share it with you. It made me laugh because it's just it's common sense. He said to me, if you cannot sleep at night, it's because you're awake. I thought it was stunning in its simplicity. You can't argue with that. So that's a deep thought from my son Ryan. And as long as he shares them, I'll share them with you. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. I will be here Wednesday at 8 for the Pulse. And then I will be again back next Sunday at 7:30, and we'll have a whole new show. We'll talk about some different things. Again, I want to thank Sam for coming on with that information. It's very important. If you know anybody who's a victim of sexual assault, domestic abuse, or human trafficking, please let them know that they're not alone and we can get them help, or you can help them. There's a way out. You're not trapped. So have a good evening. And remember, if you live your life based on a principle and not a political party, you're going to lead a pretty good life. Everybody have a good evening, and I'll see you Wednesday.